7 kilometers de Rosario, from Rosario.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for being here. And whose invitation did you honor, Horacio?
Justo Casal.
Ah.
Okay, thank you so much for honoring his invitation and for being here. And please, as you rename yourselves, with your name and the country that you're from. Vijay, I see Vijay from Kenya. Vijay, do you have access to audio and would you like to say something? Introduce yourself to us. Thank you very much for being here today.
Hi, yes. Yeah, actually, I'm based here in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
But I'm heavily working for Kenyan companies. So yeah, I help organizations scale up. I don't know, somebody just sent me this link. So I just wanted to sort of have an insight and a feel as to what the discussions are all about. So yes, that's why I'm here.
Okay. Well, we're truly grateful that you have taken the time to explore and discover a little bit more about what this is about. And I believe that this conversation is one where you would be able to contribute to based on your line of work. So thank you so much for being here.
Sure, thanks.
Hi, Felicia. Good to see you.
Hey, everyone. It's good to come back to the discussion. I'm Felicia Morioki from Kenya. And I think the last time I was here, it was Wakanye speaking, and
okay,
from Mexico. So I really enjoyed the conversation, and I wanted to be in on the next one. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous! Thank you so much for coming back. This really does mean a lot to us. And we have.
Please, can I say something today? It's very painful. Cynthia Mandela died today. The daughter of Mandela, of Nelson Mandela. The second daughter died today. I just want to say it.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing, Beatriz.
It's nothing more. Thank you. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. And we have Sohin Shah. Thank you for being here. And Evandro Borges. And I do see somebody, Kabuki. Kabuki is here and he is from the Women in Business Kenya Network. Kabuki, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I don't have good light in my house.
Okay, great to see you.
Kabuki Anyumba from Women in Business. Very good to meet everybody here. I look forward to learning from everybody and seeing how I can share and add value. Thank you so much.
Fabulous to have you here and great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll get started. And as we do that, please keep yourselves on mute. And there will be opportunities a little bit further in the conversation for everyone who is present to introduce themselves or to share something about themselves. And we will do our utmost best to keep acknowledging everybody who has, each one of you who have taken the time and, well, the time and are investing the energy in being here with us today for this conversation. I am Zaina Kanbai, Kenyan, born and raised, and I am the founder of South South Women. And as a request to each of you, please, if you're able to rename yourselves with your name and the country that you're from, that will give us a really good idea of the cultural diversity that is existing in this conversation today. South South Women is an organization, and it is also a network of conscientious women and men from across the global South who are engaged in wisdom sharing and impact work around the world. So this is the space that you have stepped into. And our wisdom conversations, which started on Monday, the 27th of April this year, were created with the intention to share and connect across cultures. Excluding today, so today would be our 10th, in the 9 wisdom conversations we have had prior to today, we have networked 311 people from 20 different countries across the Global South. We started with a participation of 16 people. We have gradually increased over 30 conversation. So thank you so much for believing in us, for bringing yourselves to these conversations, and for your commitment to who we are as a network and an organization, which is towards influencing a culture of acceptance and inclusion and honor. Behind the wisdom conversations, we have been growing South-South Women as an organization. And so I will quickly introduce our Director for Ethical Business and Entrepreneurship, and Kelly ABURI, who leads that program area for us, and she is from Lebanon. We have our, the Director of Lifelong Learning, and she leads our Impact Academy for Lifelong Learning, and that's Marwa Qasem from Egypt. And our director who leads the Office of Public Relations, Dr. Ibiene Ogolo from Nigeria. We also have our impact manager, Alejandra Arguello, in Argentina. And so you can see that the South-South Women team is a consciously curated, multicultural representation. With each person who is present in this wisdom conversation today, including the people, the 311 people who have been present in wisdom conversations prior to today, with each one of us contributing towards influencing a future of acceptance and integration. And I firmly believe setting the standard for women-led inclusive cooperation across the South. I now want to introduce our values and our code of honor, which are the foundations for our belief in conscious cooperation and impact. And I will ask us all to mute ourselves as we welcome Dr. Ibiene Ogolo, our Director of Public Relations, to present the South-South Women Values and Code of Honor, so that you can experience fully the space that we have created for these conversations and all our programs to emerge. Ibiene, are you on mute? Ibiene?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 10th session of this Wisdom Conversation Talks. Like Zaina has mentioned, we do have our values which we live by, and this includes inclusion. We engage and involve people across a broad spectrum. Everyone in the Global South basically is in our farmyard, but this is where we propagate to the rest of the world. We believe in acceptance. We cultivate safety and security for people to feel embraced. So we embrace every single one, irrespective of your tribe, irrespective of your religion, your culture. Provided you're human, you're very welcome into our circle. We honor and do all that is consciously right. We have a code of honor where we stand for and do not deride one another. We respect each other's time, we respect each other's space, we respect each other's network, we respect each other's values. We respect and consider others' industry and profession. So irrespective of your profession, I here standing for South-South Women, we are very appreciative of the fact that we are engaging with you. We respect the integrity and the creation of the network. We have become a network. We embrace everyone in this space and we promise to safeguard this network that you have let us in and you have been let into. We speak the truth and we seek to understand. Please follow us on our social media at South South Women. Thank you and welcome again, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ibiene. And it was very important for you to hear our values and our code of honor from our communications department, because it is something that we are very committed to having reflected in absolutely and across everything that we do. South-South Women is a model of South-South and triangular cooperation. That means it is an exchange of information and learning and action for impact between developing and emerging countries. And we do that in collaboration with countries from the global north, or countries which are already considered developed. So this wisdom conversation is and the two prior have been a collaboration with a like-minded organization in Mexico called Crear, Valor, which means adding value, whose founder, Fernando Camacho, I now invite to share. Fernando is a larger-than-life person whose dedication to adding value to people and society is an example in service to every human being to live their highest potential. So, Fernando, if you would like to unmute yourself and introduce, and also let us know a bit about Valor and why you are partnering.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Buenos días. I am Fernando Camacho Nieto. I am from Mexico City, and we create a network of collaborative leaders around Mexico. And now we have had this great opportunity with South-South Women to empower and add other leaders that have this vision around the importance to create value for the world, the importance to create value in each action, in each word, in each human being, in each country. So I'm very glad and honored to be here, and it has been a pleasure for Crear Valor and our network of collaborative leaders to be here creating with you. And well, as in Mexico, you know, like it's a little piece of this whole planet, but at the end, we all are human beings. So it's great to be connected with people from all around the world. And here we are to create value. So thank you very much for the invitation. And it's a pleasure to be collaborating with South-South Women.
Thank you very much, Fernando. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ti.
And just before we go into the session itself, I want to give a warm welcome to Nancy, who is Nancy Maura from the Commonwealth Business Network of Kenya, to Maria Kioko, to Shaida Jaffer. Thank you so much for being here with us today. To Nicolette, fabulous to see you. And you may have noticed we featured you yesterday on our social media. You didn't see? Okay, you need to check that. To Angel Peris, who is also from Argentina. To Natalia. Hola, Natalia. Thank you for being here. I see Syra G, it says on your username. Thank you so much for being here. Veronica. And Irina, great to have you. Sandra, welcome Sandra from Argentina, and Sergio. And Helen, hi Helen, fabulous to have you here. Melitza, I've seen as well. Thank you, Melitza, for being with us again today. And we hope that at some point, each one of you will share of yourselves. Okay, so let's get into this. I read a question last week, and the question was, if you had the whole world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say? I was both startled and impacted by the possibility that first, this could occur. And two, that my voice would actually mean something. And it's definitely one of the most powerful questions I have come across, given everything that is going on in the world right now. And today, in this wisdom conversation, we ask each of you, if you had your organization's full attention for 30 seconds, what would you say? Rethinking Enterprise, the profit of service, is about thinking through and answering that question together. And our guest influencer today is CLAUDIA LOZANO, a powerful and bright light from Colombia, now living in Mexico, whose purpose in life is to empower and develop individuals and teams in achieving their personal and/or professional goals. In the various conversations we have had, it is clear that she is passionate about what she calls service culture, and that she is a person who, with high business ethics and high business orientation and positive attitude, that is what she has become known for. She's an experienced human resources business partner in Latin America and Europe in the telecommunications and retail industries. And she has been responsible for over 4,000 employees over the duration of her time in both Latin America and in Europe. And her expertise that she will be bringing to the table today is in human resources consulting and management, talent identification and performance management, executive and leadership development, training, change management, and coaching, and all of this within the framework of service culture. I also want to introduce Kelly ABURI, who I mentioned is the South Women Director for Ethical Business and Entrepreneurship. She is a pioneer influencer of South Women. She is passionately convinced that ethical business is the way forward. And she is proof of her own conviction as the recipient of multiple international awards, including the International Humanitarianism Business Award, which was presented to her by Kofi Annan and by Mary Robinson in 2005. Presented to her team as well, with her at the lead. She was the winner of the Tetra Pak Middle East Entrepreneur Award in 2001 and the Ruben Rausing Global Business Award. So I think that it goes without saying that today we are in the presence of exceptional wisdom. And I would like to begin by asking CLAUDIA LOZANO to take the platform.
Thank you.
Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you, Zaina. And I'm more than honored to be sharing this platform today with Kelly. And thank you, Zaina and Fernando, for creating this collaboration between your organization, South Women, Zaina, and Creando Valor from Fernando Camacho. So we will kick it off today with the profit of service. So just let me share my presentation. Okay. So we are going to talk about service culture and how service culture it starts from within. So be prepared to answer some questions, and I have some colleagues here who worked with me in service culture while we were working in Ericsson, and probably you will hear some of their perceptions and opinions and sharings of what they experience while we work in service culture. So what is service? Service basically is the action that you take when you are adding value to someone else, those that you serve. It's about creating experience and creating value. And a culture of service is an organizational culture that prioritizes customer service in all goals, decisions, in actions, and everything that happens in an organization. And when an organization has a heart of service, each employee is connected emotionally in providing that service, outstanding service. And we know that a culture is thriving, a culture of service is thriving when it becomes the foundation of everything that we do in our organizations. So every conversation, meeting, processes, forms, strategies, all are designed to support and sustain service delivery, not only externally, but also internally. And of course, it has benefits. And that's something that we need to consider, because service culture really is an amazing world that creates extraordinary results. Some of the benefits that we have when we are working with service culture is that we increase our financial performance. Saina was talking about before you guys joined this call, this conference, that usually we are very focused on the bottom line. But the benefit of service culture is that not only increases your financial performance, but also makes your brand more distinct. And including or adding to that creates better customer experience, creates higher customer employee engagement, and also creates a healthy company culture. So if we put this conversation in the context of different stakeholders as employees, team members, customers, providers, and society, my first question to this audience would be, who do you serve? And how do you think you create value for those different stakeholders? So we are going to open the mic for some of you who want to share. So let us know. And Saina, I'm going to ask you here, or if you want to post in the chat, because we want to hear about you or from you. How do you serve your different stakeholders, and how do you create value for those stakeholders? Let me check if there's anything in the chat. Okay.
Okay, you can also let us know if you, I'm sure it'll take a couple of minutes for people to think about, so we can do that. The questions, to repeat them: who do you serve? And how do you think you create value for your stakeholders?
Okay, if there are no comments, then I think I should continue, so I don't take time from Kelly.
Okay, so there's a question here from Sohin. Okay. How do you measure the level of service? Perhaps there's some clarification required around what service means.
Okay. So service is about taking action to serve someone else. And yes, there are measurements, and we could be here. I mean, I could give you a lot of information on how we measure service. Some tools that you could use to measure service are the perceptions that your customers, employees, team members, providers have on your service. Or it could be also the service transactions that you provide. Every time that you have a process, or every process that you have in your organization is made of different perception points. And you are able to isolate any of those transactions as well as those perception points, so that your audience or your stakeholders are able to evaluate your service. But here we are more interested in how you add value to others. Not how do you, probably yes, how you measure it, but how do you think you add value to your stakeholders?
We have a response from Beatriz Pomier and from Fernando. Fernando says everyone. So who do you serve? Everyone. Beatriz says, I think I create services working with people for people with Down syndrome, or women who are or vulnerable women.
Maybe I can mention my stakeholders as well. Is that okay? I guess.
Yes, please. Veselina, maybe introduce yourself as well.
Yes. So I'm Veselina. I work in Kenya. So, and I'm the country director for an organization called Oxford Business Group. We do economic research in developing markets. So basically, we have several different stakeholders that we serve in the context of this.
Yes, Elena, I barely hear you. Can you speak closer to your microphone?
Do you hear me now?
Better now.
Better? Okay. So yeah, so basically within my organization, Oxford Business Group, which is an international business intelligence and advisory firm, we have several stakeholders that we serve in the context and definition described here. We have basically international investors to whom we provide information on developing markets so that they're able to make investment decisions. We have local stakeholders who we serve in the way of also providing information from one side, but also giving them visibility within the international community for projects that they want to be visible on. So these are the two main stakeholders that we serve within that organization.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Sergio, would you like to share? And meanwhile, I will welcome Tomas Dario. Tomas says he serves by putting attention to what is important for his stakeholders. So he looks from the perspective of the stakeholder to what is important. Sergio, would you like to?
Sure. Well, I create value to leaders, both students and professionals. And what I do is I help them connect, I help them elevate trust between them, and also help them develop the skills to create deep connections, trust, and also to establish a communication without that armor, without the barriers that we normally put. So, and by doing so, I help them become aware of others, understand their pains and frustrations, because every one of us serves somebody else. And by doing that also, I help them bring out the best in themselves, bring out the best version of themselves. So that's the way I look to serve. I look to serve by helping people grow and succeed, by helping others grow and succeed. And I wrote it down, so I hope I said it right. There you go.
In fact, because you wrote it down, we felt it was important for you to share your voice.
Thank you.
And Vijay would also like to share something. Please, Vijay, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, all right. I just want to give you my perspective about how do you serve and creating value. First and foremost, I mean, we help organizations, different sort of organizations scale up. And the first and foremost starts with the governance aspect, irrespective of what the organization is. And we believe it is the specific point of destination. It starts with the intentions, the collective intentions at the top. Once those intentions are clear and clarity is there, then everything else starts formulating. And Zaina, what you spoke about, and the values, embedding the right values, it starts with the value proposition itself. Everything starts with the values. If you have the values in place, if you have the purpose in place, and if you have the right vision in place, what's going to happen is it will sort of start inculcating the right messages, the right disciplines, the right impact, the right systems within the organization to ensure that everybody is taken into consideration with the 50,000 feet outlook at the governance level going down throughout the organization. So it's very important to have the visibility in place, and then not having that myopic view, but having that holistic outlook as such.
Thank you, Vijay. Okay, so I'm going to continue. Thank you for your sharings. And this is like the platform to continue with the second part. So think about the companies that are best known for customer service. They have undeniable cultures that sets them apart. And they have positive cultures in their workplaces that are grounded to their core. And it's quite interesting what Sergio was saying about helping people grow, and what Vijay was mentioning as well about values, because that's what we are going to talk about. Service culture and creating value starts from within, which is one of the, I think it was in the quote that I wrote for this presentation, because it means having a conscious focus on our guiding principles. That means purpose, vision, mission, values. for the intention of this conversation, we are going to focus on purpose and values and why that is important, how we can start creating service culture from that. So purpose is this distinction that allows us to answer questions at the level of being, who we are and why do we exist. It provides emotional connection with your customers, with your employees, and your employees get greater meaning and significance to what they do every single day because of the connection with the purpose. It inspires change and never stops stimulating change. It's also a way in which the company can connect to the customers and provide value. And it's also the way how companies get to provide influence and use their power for doing good. So when I mentioned that service culture starts from within, it's essentially that. And I really liked what Sergio said because he said helping people grow. So it's the purpose behind. You're serving people when you are living your purpose. And when DJ was mentioning about values, we're going to talk about values now. Values is also an important platform to create or to design those experiences of service that we want to have in our customers, in our team members, in our providers and society. So values are the fundamental beliefs that we have within an organization or even personally. Those are guiding principles that dictate the behavior and can help us understand what's the difference of what works and doesn't work in an organization or for every one of us. And those are intangible assets. Purpose and values are intangible assets, but are the foundation of service culture. So you don't need and what I wanted to mention here and remark here is you don't need to create a difficult strategy or complex strategy to create service culture. You can go to the heart of your organization, starting with purpose and values, and from there you can start working on your service culture. Now, I'm going to connect this with the distinction being human. When we had the conversations with Zaina and Kelly around why it is important service culture during these times, but also what is needed and required in our communities, our organizations, in society, we were thinking about the connection from human being to human being. And being human is about kindness, is compassion, is about getting in the other's shoes. So you can add value when you relate to others from being human, from being sympathetic, thinking about what's happening with others, the feelings they have, what they are going through, being empathetic as well, not only thinking about what they are feeling, but also connecting from the perspective of heart-to-heart feelings, the experiences they are going through. And also being compassionate. Like, it's not only about the thoughts and the feelings, but also how can I add value to you? How can I serve you, especially in these times when we are thinking on how difficult things might be, complexity, ambiguity. This is a wonderful time to create service culture. This is a wonderful time to add value and to provide others with something they might need that can be simply leadership from heart and mind. And I'm not saying that now we need to focus on our strategies, results, not, but we need to be connected to other human beings. And the platform to do that comes from the purpose and the values that we have in our organizations. So something that we can take advantage of having this platform of purposes and values is to be at service of others and energize them, provide emotional stability and emotional security, empower, enable, guide, train. This is the time, or these are the times in which we need to work faster, being more adaptable, innovative, and experimenting. So we can empower that by bringing this purpose and values, by being human, by bringing compassion. It's also the time in which we can collaborate. build team support, promote flexibility, and connect people from different teams and places, such the work that we are doing here now, the work that Zaina and Fernando are promoting. And it's also this time, a perfect time to create prosperity, to think beyond barriers, to continue innovating, to think about what's the competition, what are the markets that I can impact. So from the platform of service culture, from the platform of purpose and values, from the platform of being human, how can we connect, add value, and create value to the people around us, to our communities, to our team members, being compassionate, being empathetic, and being simple human beings. So with that, I receive questions. And I wanted just to ring this before I finish and thank you, Zaina, for this connection, because the purpose of South-South Woman is something that inspired me. And I think bringing this conversation on how purpose and values are a platform for service culture, you have served me, because now I have the opportunity to influence this community with what is service culture and how we can create something from the perspective of service culture.
Thank you so much, Claudia. And what I'm going to do is hand it over to Marwa Kasem to acknowledge you as you deserve to be acknowledged, and also lead into Kelly Aburi's presentation.
Thank you so very much, Claudia. I really felt your presentation and it really resonated with my heart, actually. And what you said about heart to heart is what it means to be human. Stories are basically what open hearts. Statistics raise eyebrows, but stories truly about sharing of common shared experiences, this is what really speaks to the heart. So when you spoke about compassion and how it is a step beyond empathy, because it adds action towards serving and alleviating whatever the other person may be feeling and how to help them. And what you've really said, Claudia, is absolutely aligned with so many of the HR practices that we know in organizations. We want our employees first and foremost to be our #1 customer. So how can we make that happen? And the name of the game now is you need an employee who's engaged. Engagement is when the employee feels they are doing something and winning at it, meaning they know what their job is, and intersecting with feeling that it matters. So when we communicate purpose, as you rightly mentioned, purpose is communicating and really creating, as you said, emotional connection with our employees. Our role right now as leaders of organizations, if we really want to impact our profit bottom line, we need to engage our employees by communicating purpose, as you rightly mentioned, and sharing with them our values. And these values, you said, are the guiding principles that guide our behaviors. Because it's not what you say, it's what you do. And if we don't align what we do with basically the values of that organization, it will be felt. In fact, as we all know in communication, you might be telling me, thank you, and I'm really sure you're not thanking me at this point. Can I help you with anything else, sir? That's not really an empowered, engaged employee who really cares and has his heart in the business. And so thank you so much, Claudia, for encouraging us to allow our employees to put their hearts in the business so that they can achieve the best outcome for themselves and the organization. Because an employee who achieves also feels good about themselves. An employee who feels that they're failing at what they're doing or that they are in a failing organization will never go above and beyond. So thank you so much for that enlightening and compassionate presentation. I'd love to invite, thank you. And I'd like to invite everybody to unmute and show their appreciation for Claudia's presentation and time today. Thank you, Claudia. And with that, we will transition into the next presentation, which comes from a lady whose motto is all you need is love. Love is all you need. In fact, she named her restaurant Hob House, which in Arabic means house of love. So she is somebody that I truly love and value dearly. She's the reason why I found my path towards South women. She lights the way, she lights the room, and she lights this world with her love. Thank you, Kelly. Before you start, I just wanted to honor you and appreciate you, and so excited to hear you today.
Thank you, Marwa. I feel very humbled, really, because, yes, well, I feel very humbled. I'm trying to now not show my inadequacies by not being able to share. Oh, great, great, great. I'm just trying to figure out how else I do this. Marwa, I did it on the other one and I can't do it on this one. I say I'm going back. Ah, it's not coming. Sorry. It's, sorry. Let me just get back to this.
Okay, so while you're doing that, Kelly, what I will do is just share some of the comments that are coming up. Vijay asks an important question. So according to Gallup research, 85% of staff globally are not happy. What are the 3 key elements missing? And perhaps that's something that we can be engaging with on the chat as we go through this conversation. I also want to then give a very, very warm welcome to Dr. Tonya Smart from the Commonwealth Businesswomen Network, Nigeria. Tonya, thank you for being here with us today. And if you'd like to say a word while Kelly finds her presentation, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Kelly, for a warm welcome on the chat as well. I appreciate, and we bring you warm greetings from the Commonwealth Businesswomen Network, Nigeria. And it's my pleasure to be here. And I want to thank my colleague, Helen Majemite, who graciously invited me to this platform. Thank you very much. And I'm really having a great time here today. Thank you.
We absolutely love having you here and truly hope that after this, we can have a conversation about synergy to expand the conversation.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome Magdi Wahaba, Mary Beckman, Isosa, welcome back. Great to see you again. Isabella, and Hasti, fabulous to have you here. We know it's super early for you. Thank you so much. I'm seeing FA. If you would like to, if that's how we know you, that's absolutely perfect. Please can everybody write their names with their country that they're from as well, if it's possible for you to rename, so we can really keep track of the cultural diversity in the audience. And I believe, and Ronki, yay! Hi, great to see you again, a powerful voice, African voice in the UK. And Romantico, bienvenido. Kelly, are you good?
Can you see the screen? It says I'm sharing, but can you see?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Kelly.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
we can.
Okay, good. So this presentation, actually, first I want to thank Claudia. I'm absolutely, totally amazed by Crear, Valor and what Fernando and all of you are doing. And thank you so much for that presentation. I actually photographed it, and I know Ibiene did too. That one slide, we fell in love with it. I could see Ibiene and I had the same thought at the same time. That was absolutely a wonderful slide on empathy and sympathy and compassion. And I loved it. Thank you so much. And I have loved the whole idea of service. I think it should run through everybody's lives. And I think when people think of business and commercial enterprise, they don't actually think of service. And they probably, they don't think of any service at all. It's really just the bottom line, as Claudia was saying. So when Zaina and I were talking about how we do this in terms of even training for companies how we can take them into a new way of thinking in terms of how we think of our enterprise. So this is really a very small presentation. I hope it's interactive and that it'll give us some time to think about why we're doing what we're doing. If I can ever do this properly, thank you. So one of the things I thought is really, who are we? What makes us who we are? Our values, of course, are one of those things. Our principles, our education and our knowledge. The geography, you know, where we come from. You know, if you're coming from the Arab world, there's a certain way in which you behave. And if you are coming from Kenya and the different tribes, even in Nigeria and Kenya and other countries, they also have a different way of behaving, and they have attitudes towards different things because of their tribal culture. Our passions, what is your passion? This makes who we are. And our talent, what are we talented at? Sometimes you're not educated to do something, but you have a God-given gift that is a talent. And then your skill set, which comes from your talents, from your education. And what wisdom have you that you can bring to your profession and that you have to share? And we are a compilation of all of these things. Sorry, my husband's asking me a question when I'm in the middle of this. Sorry, Lisa. Yes. Okay, thank you. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
So, and the why and how and what and who. These are the downsides of Zoom, by the way. I think that we're actually doing them in our own home. One second.
Okay, so while Kelly's doing that, we can see that there was quite some good interaction.
Sorry, I'm back. It's just,
okay.
I'm talking from my office, and all of a sudden a number of people came in to ask questions. Sorry, guys.
That's life.
So
give me a second.
Yeah.
So what Vijay said is that thanks for all the insights, and I will share towards the end what we found out as the 3 key elements which stand out. Perfect, Vijay. We look forward to hearing that. Okay.
So on this slide, what we'd like to do is, if you want to put some things onto the chat of some of the answers to these, what am I doing? What am I doing, and what do I do? I asked this question over the weekend to a lot of my customers, and some would say, well, I'm the CEO of, or I'm a communications person here, but it didn't really tell me a whole lot about what they do. Except I knew if you're in communications, you write up scripts and texts, but I didn't have a whole lot more than that. And there are many CEOs today, and I don't really know what they do. So how do I describe my profession to others, and what is my function? A little bit like the elevator test from Harvard. So who can help me to be successful, and how do you build strong networks and even stronger, trustworthy relationships? If you want, you can use this time now. We have a few seconds to reflect, and maybe you can put some things on chat. I think it would be really interesting to see how you describe yourselves and how you describe your profession, and where service comes in also in your profession.
Okay, so the questions that Kelly is asking is, why am I doing what I do? And the idea here is to go beyond your title. All of us have titles at the workplace. So I may be the CEO of Merging Mundos. I may be the founder of South Women. But why am I doing that? And what has actually gotten me to that title or to that position? Which is a really interesting question, because you're right. We don't usually go into the depths of what the title means for each of us. And my father-in-law always says, it's not the title that makes you, you make the title. Exactly. So let's hear from you about that.
Are there anybody on chat? Is there anybody on chat? Mm-hmm.
So to Fernando, it's to create value through empowering communication in companies and each person as the CEO of Crear Mexico. So his why behind his title is to create value. Nicolette says, I usually describe myself as an international business professional who is passionate about doing business in Africa through investment and social impact. So there's the passion behind the reason for being in business. It's through investment and social impact. When I think about why I do anything that I do, it's because I believe that my voice is for unity and progress, and that I have a responsibility to help human beings and nature live in dignity.
Wow, Zaina, I can't live up to that. That's huge. But I think, you know, when I look at myself as a person who's in business, and I have a restaurant at the moment, and it's a very successful restaurant in Nairobi. And I try to constantly talk to my staff about people coming in and the act of service in terms of the restaurant. And how do we make people feel when they come to eat in a special environment? And how humble we are. We should to have humility and not to be arrogant, and to serve them with compassion and kindness. Why am I doing what I do? I want to create good food, healthy food, and I want to be able to show people that they can enjoy a dining experience without having to have a whole lot of chemicals in their food. So we do really, all our food is organic. And we don't serve alcohol here, and we don't serve alcohol because I didn't see a marrying up. If I'm saying I'm going to create a healthy food, non-toxic, non-chemical, I don't want to be able to then compromise my integrity by selling something that I don't believe I should be selling. And on the other hand, we allow people to bring. So that's their choice, what they want to do. So that's how I would describe what I do, and why I'm doing it is to create a healthier world.
Do you mind if I ask both Ronke and Evandro to share their responses?
Yes, please.
So Ronke, if you'd like to go ahead, and then Evandro after her.
Okay, I'll just read out what I said. So my mission really is to equip and empower women, mainly women. I like men too. I've got a great husband. So where I can help with the men, I will too. But really to speak up in a way that is courageous and confident, but more than anything in a way that aligns with their values. I'm really helping women to speak in a way that's intentional, speaking up with intention, not for attention, and yet in a way that's compelling and powerful. So because I really believe that we all have a voice that is special. We each have a voice that is worthy, a story that is worthy of being heard and being shared. So that's what it is with me.
Thank you so much for that powerful statement.
Wonderful, thank you.
Evandro, muito bem-vindo.
Great to see your face, Claudia. When it comes to this, it's all about people connection, and we, especially when we are in service business, we need to connect with people's heart. Either the customer, either is a customer for our customers and our employees. So in a leadership position in any service company, you need to connect to your people and understand what they are looking for, the connection with your purpose, and enable them. We are talking about diversity and inclusion here. As a leader, you need to make sure you understand all the landscape of people you deal with, to make sure you are inclusive enough to make sure that they deliver on their best and they are connected to the purpose of the company. This is what we see the company standing up, especially in the situation we are living right now. The ones that really has a purpose and you see the employees connect to the purpose are the one you see consistency. And I think that the ones who will leave this situation stronger. And that's my role. That's what I do every day.
Wonderful. Thank you, Evandro. Anybody else here? Anybody else? Zaina, I can't see the chat.
We have some powerful messages from Kabuki, from Nancy, and from Natalia. So what I'll perhaps say, Nancy is the CEO of Bricks Insurance. I do this because it provides real solutions in risk mitigation and loss. So there's a real caring there for how people invest and how people manage their investments in insurance. And for Natalia, because I believe that significant changes can be made from public policies, improving the lives of rural producers and contributing to the sustainability of the environment. I believe that Natalia works with the Ministry of Forestry or Environment in Argentina.
Wow.
And Sheda is saying, I'm not in business, but I am a psychotherapist, and I believe that my profession defines me because I believe by giving a safe space to people to explore their issues, incorporating mindfulness, compassion, and care. And Beatrice says, who works with empowering vulnerable women, she does this because if a woman can earn her own money, she will be able to move in other ways too.
Yeah, I think also the third question for me ties into service. And I think service is an act of giving where you're not expecting anything back. And when you build strong relationships and strong networks, you have to be trusted in those networks. And if you're seen as a person who is constantly in service, there will be a lot more trust, I think. And we know that in a lot of cultures, the hand is always out and then no one is ever really thinking about giving back. So I think in this context of building your networks and developing very strong relationships, the trust issue also comes from a service or a service mentality, whether I'm giving and I'm willing to help and contribute to my network rather than take from my network. I think that's one thing. On the next slide, maybe you can answer some of these questions. I mean, some of you have already answered it. What gap are you trying to fill in your community? I mean, Ronke answered it very well, and I couldn't remember the last lady, but yes, and Shada also, because Shada has done a lot of work with refugees, so she's really filling a tremendous worthwhile gap in her community. But who do you want to be in 5 years, and where do you want to be? I think that's a really important question, especially today. And I think in the COVID era, it's very hard to plan. So when we ask a question of who do you want to be in 5 years, maybe a COVID-free world would be one. But yes, who do you want to be? Where do you want to be? I like Ronke's idea of, what did she say? I wrote it down here somewhere. The intention of speech rather than speaking for attention. And what is your intent? And how do you want to develop that within the next 5 years for all of us, I think, to make our intent different? And what do you want your legacy to be in the world? I would say, what would I want for my last breath? You know, what was the last thing that I did an hour before or the day before? And what would your legacy be? Maybe you can start putting some things on chat.
Perfect. Let me read some of the answers that are coming in. Wakani, I believe that there has to be a personal narrative that one can share about the journey that led them to the title they carry. This shows value commitment to that title. The title is truly the highlight cherry on top of the story. Your personal story says more about you than the accolades, and it is what connects you to the service of others. And Marwa agrees with that and says, you know, also, I inspire others to believe in their own limitless potential by planting seeds of awareness, self-awareness, releasing the limiting beliefs and inviting abundance into their life. And Danique from Curaçao, I foster empowering conversations so that people can lead a life that they are in love with. That's beautiful. And FA says, I fully agree. In fact, trust is the basis for high performance. And maybe FA, you can say a little bit more about that later, because I know Kelly's getting to that in her presentation. Romantico, to grow our relationship, it's important to have mental health, that we can help each other and work on our humility to work closer to our workers. That's a really, really nice way of saying it.
Yeah.
And Tomas is acknowledging both you and Kelly. And Tomas was an extremely powerful speaker we had last week, and talking about being a facilitator for peace and the many facets of peace.
I also like, I think Tomas said, use service as a way to get the attention of your stakeholders rather than massive advertising campaigns. You know, I think we've spent so much money over the years in business on massive advertising campaigns, but the quality of your service and the quality of how you come to your customers with authenticity will, I think, get the attention of your customers. So I thank Thomas for that. And Sergio said to elevate trust, which he's not saying that trust is completely not there, but he's saying let's elevate it to another level. And I think that was something very important for me as a legacy that we leave to the world. And also to elevate deeper connection. I think that's what he said, deeper connection. And I think through authentic communication, which is what Ronke is all about in terms of teaching people to have proper intention rather than attention. I love that. I'm going to steal that, Ronke, because I love it.
And McKelvin says, and McKelvin spoke very powerfully in one of our sessions on how we give of ourselves, and when we are kind and caring towards others just for the pure sake of being so, we make a difference in somebody's life, that we don't have to have a reason for that, but we can just be that difference. And he says, I believe people work for their landlords. Who is working for them? With our services, we intend to convert clients' rent liabilities to asset, increase universal access to housing, and enhance lifestyle. So coming at it from the perspective of, if we're working for someone, who's working for you?
Absolutely. Let me get to the next slide, because I know we have much. I've done this slide for a lot of people in this training, especially for my staff who love this slide. I was saying to Zaina earlier, a lot of my staff have come. You know, every Kenyan has a shamba. A shamba in Kiswahili is a farm. So they all come from a farming background. When I show this and I ask them, as South women, we're looking at how we create a new world and how that new world will be born. And I ask all my staff who have their chickens, you know, what happens when the new chicken is being birthed? They say that everything inside the egg goes black and is rotten and is decayed. And when we look around the world today, not everything is doom and gloom, of course, but we have pandemics and we have corruption and we have leaders we can't trust, and we have racism and sexism and Me Too and Black Now. And there's so many things going on. And I look at the world, and we cannot birth a new world. We cannot create a new world without everything else being destroyed. And I see the destruction happening. But what are we putting in place? How are we going to create this better world and this new life that we want to bring forward? And I think this is a beautiful slide to show the old world sort of breaking up, which we all agree, we're all on South Women because we want to create a world that's more connected and more caring and more loving and more kind, more ethical, would have more value, that we have voices of intention rather than attention. And I think this is a powerful way of looking at rebirthing our world and ourselves at the same time. So having done a lot of the relationship building workshops for Tetra Pak in the past, one of the the two virtues that have come to mind all the time from everybody, they've always said that there's a lack of truthfulness in almost every organization. And without truthfulness, we don't have trust. It's absolutely inherent in our everyday dealings and our transactions with people. In Dante's poem, The Inferno, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this poem, he has reserved the lowest bulger of hell for those who betray trust. I looked up the word bulger this morning, and it says the most evil ditch. So it is even lower and lower than anything. So those who betray trust, I mean, it takes an awful lot for them to come back from that. And in its absence, a mutually beneficial relationship of any significant depth cannot develop. So it's for us now, when I look at, when I see my company and the way that I have to work with my colleagues. This morning I had a training for my staff, and I had actually said to them, when you are truthful and you create trust, you are doing a great service to Hub House. You're doing a great service to your colleagues. You're doing a great service to humanity and humankind, because it's never just within my company. There is an impact that has a wider effect. And I love this whole idea of service, not just being going out and cleaning rivers and helping old people across the street, that it comes to just being truthful and building trust within our organizations and creating a different kind of service to each other, that we care and love each other as human beings enough to be truthful. So the awareness of and operating from ethics and values, I believe in the future will be the heartbeat of excellence that will motivate and inspire working teams across all aspects of life. So talking to my staff this morning about truthfulness, because we had some issues with lying over the weekend, and I wanted to understand why they were doing it. And Zaina had done a training last week with 3 of my staff on the ethics of truthfulness in a company. And one of those who had stood up and said, I won't lie again, actually lied. So it's sort of an inbuilt in the culture. And what I was trying to say to her is, you will never be excellent. You cannot ever strive for excellence if you are constantly held back by your untruths. It's just not going to happen. And I wanted them to also choose a different kind of legacy with an inner wisdom, to be conscious and alert and awake, and understand that even on the smallest infraction of lying and creating that distrust, how serious it is and how asleep they are if they are not behaving correctly or creating trust for me and amongst their colleagues. So our new world, what would it look like? I mean, Zaina and I have talked about this a lot. First of all, we say truthfulness, because it's the foundation of every other virtue. I always ask people, can you be a good doctor if you're not truthful? And can you build bridges and be a great engineer if you're not truthful? No, because there will be dishonesty throughout everything, and there will be no trust. And a just and fair society will always add value if we have justice, but justice can't happen if there's no truthfulness. It just can't happen. I mean, I watch a lot of these Netflix shows, documentaries on people who've gone to jail innocently, and there has been untruths told, and there has been no justice, and people have been put away for 30, 40 years, and they have been completely innocent. And not only that, in our environment, when we are not being truthful to ourselves and to others, but really what we're doing to the planet at the moment, we have to, in all acts of everything we do in our life, we have to be honest and truthful and add value to each other and to the earth. This is the service that we will bring to each other from being truthful and creating trust. I would like to, this is a very favorite analogy I love, that within your society, a company or an enterprise is very much like an organ in the body. The heart just doesn't exist because it's the heart, and it's not really the heart that we see. It actually creates blood flow and life. Liver cleanses and makes us healthy. If a company is healthy and vibrant, it will also have an impact on our society. I've noticed recently with COVID, we've had 140 restaurants close completely in Nairobi during COVID. They will never recover. What that impact from that, this is one organ that has gone down in our society. Now the farmers are closing down because they can't eat, they can't sell their produce. The supply chain, one of my suppliers this morning for our takeaway boxes told me they went from over 30 staff down to 18. That means many people without jobs, has a huge impact. So it creates even more health issues in our society, in the body of our society. Ethics, service, and integrity create a strong culture that will keep this vital organ successful. I try to instill this in my staff at Hub House, that it's not that ethics is here and we are here. One of my staff said to me this morning, I promise you, while I'm in Hub House, I will never lie. And I said, but you must never lie. But she disassociated. She thought if she was only in Hub House and she didn't lie, that we will keep this organ healthy. And I was trying to explain to her that it doesn't work that way. And then I began to realize, really, lying is endemic in so many people's lives, you know, and if we don't build a truthful society and a society that we can trust, we are going to die as the human race, I believe. I want to build this new world. That new world, that planet that we had coming out of the breaking shell was green. And I love the idea of it being green because it tells me we're going to have a better planet that's really vibrant and full of life, and that we have protected it, and we've done great things to make this world a better place. So I don't want to go through all of this in detail, but it's something, if you've got phones, you can photograph it now, and then maybe Zena will send this to you later, or Ibiene. What are your values? What do you need to change in your culture? One of my staff said to me today, but I'm Kalinjian, and why is my culture not valid here in Hub House? And I said, because you are now in Hub House culture, and we are creating a new culture. And then how does my leadership and my staff need to change their attitude to support our culture here at Hub House or at any organization? How can we become more service-oriented? And remember, true leadership is an achievement of integrity and trust. I'm trying to train 2 people to become supervisors, and I said to them this morning, you will never be leaders if you cannot show me that I can trust you and that you have integrity. It's the achievement of that. So what new requirements are your customers demanding of us? I think people want us to be ethical. They want to have integrity. They want to know that when I tell them that this food has no chemicals, I'm telling the truth. And how does the implementation of the business strategy need to change? If you're changing the culture and you're changing your strategy in line to align with your culture, you have to bring people on board within your organization. But what is scary about the changes? Nobody likes change. I noticed that this morning when I was doing a small training with them. And what is surprising, so it's surprising to me that people don't understand the implications of dishonesty. And what is exciting? I think it's extremely exciting that at the South Women, and as a network that we have all of us here together, we're all very like-minded, and we're all here because we want to make a better world. And I think this is exciting, that we support each other, we help each other, we exchange information. I've taken a lot from other people today, from what you said, and I can see that we will go forward as a network in changing this world to make it a better world. And I think that was it. Thank you. And apologize for my husband taking my attention because it completely threw me. So
I think that was one way in which you demonstrated you can very quickly come back on track, Kelly. So thank you for being honest about that.
Oh, my goodness.
Not leaving us wondering what's going on. And please, there is nothing to feel bad about. Thank you so much for that. And I think the best way, so if we can unmute and just show Kelly our appreciation through a round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing in examples of what you go through on a daily basis into the conversation. I believe that the best way to move ahead would be to take a few minutes to go through the questions and comments that have come up. And Sohin, you've made some comments here, and perhaps this ties into also what Vijay wanted to say. Would you like to take the mic and share a little bit about what you wrote here on the chat? And please mute yourselves again.
Hi. Hi.
Yes, Sohin. Hi.
This is an excellent presentation by Kelly, and I think a lot of these things come out from what we do and the kind of culture we portray. I had earlier outlined what we actually do as Rent a Director. I'm a partner with Vijay. I'm the Executive Director of Rent a Director. We help a number of businesses and organizations and executives to scale up, to grow, and to exude the various capabilities that they innately have, but they are actually stored within, but they're not able to exceed on this, expound on that. And just to give a bit of flavor to what Kelly has said, I just wrote in that one of the major things that we need to follow is the right knowledge, right faith, and right conduct in what we are doing on a daily basis. These are very essential principles, and if we were to observe just these principles together with the 3 great vows that I've written, and that is non-violence, truth, and non-stealing, I think that should take our country, ourselves, together with our countries where we are leaders, to the next level. If we also adhere to this kind of values in our businesses, this will actually propel our businesses to the next level, because I think we all agree that, and we all know that karma is out there. For some of the people who might not understand what karma is about, karma is simply about what we do is what we'll gain from, and it's a cycle. So if we give out good in the world, good will come back to us, and sometimes in 10-fold, 20-fold. And to be honest, we ourselves as Renter Director, we've been doing a lot of webinars like this, and we have gotten back, I can say, more than 20-fold. We give as much as possible in our various webinars, and we've continued to do that, sharing knowledge, and what we have experienced is that we have gained in that process a lot. I mean, I can't even quantify that, because 20-fold would be an understatement in this practice. So what Kelly has just informed, I think what she said is coming from the bottom of her heart, and she's giving the maximum, and I know she will continue to do that, and she will gain. So this is something that we keep on telling our friends and colleagues, that make sure that you come out with the truth, and you will progress. Thank you, Zaina.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. And if I'm not mistaken, would you be honoring Rajesh's invitation to be here today? Was it Rajesh?
Yes, yes,
okay.
That's correct.
Good. Thank you. He spoke to us about you. Thank you so much for being here. And it would be really great for us to explore some synergy in terms of what we can do to progress these kinds of conversations between our organizations.
Sure, why not? And we would like to work in collaboration. One of the things that we also talk about is that, with the age of disruption, the best thing is how to collaborate with each other and expand our networks and expand our capabilities. I mean, everyone, as we say, everyone doesn't have same 5 fingers. So if we combine the 5 fingers, it becomes a fist, and that's where the strength lies. So there
Thank you
go.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sohin. Thank
you. Do I know Sohin? You look familiar, but I waved to you anyway. Thank you, Sohin, for your comments. Really appreciate it.
Kelly, we've met in Tetra Pak.
Oh, long time ago. Great. Thanks. Very nice to see you here.
Perfect. So I would like to ask, Veselina had made a comment. Would you like to expound on that, on what you wrote on the chat, followed by Romantico?
Yes. So I was trying to be a bit of the devil's advocate there, and saying that while it's important that companies have their strong cultures and their strong values, and that they don't compromise with, it's also important for companies to evolve together with their employees, and also to benefit from the diversity of their own, that is within their own organizations. So that's why when Kelly mentioned about the challenging person who was saying, oh, but why is not my culture valued or honored within this organization? Then I was just thinking to myself, well, sometimes, listening and understanding which elements of that culture would actually be in line with the values of the organization would be a good way to bring that person back on board, because obviously from that comment, they're not on board somehow. Somehow they don't feel that the organization caters to who they are. And when we're striving for diversity, it's important to be inclusive without compromising with the values, but also sometimes revisiting our values, because you never know who you can learn from. Maybe it's going to be your 3-year-old son or daughter, or maybe it's going to be an employee from a very poor background who never had the education you had. It's just learning and knowledge can come from all various interesting places.
Absolutely.
Tonya, did you have a comment?
Thank you. No, thank you.
Okay. Isabella Padua, you also mentioned something on the chat about providing a nice laboratory to experiment trust, truthfulness and bravery, and to be a person of integrity. Would you like to say anything else about that?
Not really. That's basically what I wanted to. Thank you, Kelly and Claudia, for sharing with us what your experience and thoughts. And Kelly, I know as a fact, by experience, that you are already providing an amazing example in a nice way for anyone to practice values and truthfulness. So thank you.
Thank you,
Keep doing it.
Thank you so much, Isabella. Romantico and Kadzo, would you like to share your thoughts? And Fernando, you had mentioned trust earlier, Fernando Alonso, so it would be good if you could also speak after Romantico.
Yes. Well, one was my point, especially I talk about trust, no? But in this environment, we need to build that environment of trust. How we can work with people if we don't have trust? Because right now, where the world is heading is trustless, and it's so important. But us, in a good way of leadership, we need to build that trust with our people, with the people that we work. Because when there is no trust, there is corruption. So how we gonna build, that is I put in the first step. We need to work in humility. We need to work as a family. Sometimes if we honor something, so we cannot feel that we are the bosses. We need to feel like we are with them as like an equal society, whether is the work. And also that is important to have a mental health there, because and to understand each other, because many people come from different backgrounds, no, and they have traumas, they have this and they have that, and to understand why that type of behavior and try to help them, because sometimes it's so easy to judge before understanding. So to work towards that trust, I think it is so important to build a family in our community of workplace. It is what I think, how to build the trust, whether in the company, whether in your workplace, or whether with your family. It is so important to do that, because that thing will make us grow as a team. And of course, we can go further and more and more and more, but when we're working together as a unity, of course, when it happened that family, when we are a family, obviously it's trust, and the trust will take us far.
Zena, can I just say something built on on that? I would like to go back to the way we build trust is to be implicitly truthful. And even when we see our leaders today in all countries, there's no one country I think that we can say it's not happening. When our leaders are not truthful to us, there's distrust to our governments and to our leaders. In our workplaces, if we're not truthful, if we're not honoring truth to our employees, and I believe that, this truthfulness is the foundation of every other virtue. I mean, we cannot build anything. We cannot build families of cohesion if we are not dealing first with trustworthiness and truthfulness. Truthfulness is an outcome of that. We have to start creating cultures of honesty and truthfulness.
Yes, but how you create that one, especially with the people, sometimes that you don't know. So you're gonna put it first of all, you need to start making a family, because that person, even if there is not a family bond there, if you haven't generated a family bond, what happened? The trust will disappear, and that person can betray you. And that thing happen a lot. That thing happen a lot. That is the reason is maybe to add more, to make that bond as a family that say, now I'll do it because now I take care of that person. No, the trust is immersed there, but I would like to make the other step beyond there. Because when we have that, we can grow further. Because
Absolutely.
Now we're thinking as a family.
Thank you so much, Romantico. I mean, you are so passionate and inspired by this concept that you have me thinking that one of the next wisdom conversations we will have will be to address this question. How do you build trust? So thank you for that. And I do want to say that you are part of the South Women family now. So this is
thanks a
something
lot.
we build and create together. And
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
wanted to add something to what Kelly had already mentioned and to the comment of Romantico. By the way, quite interesting nickname that you have chosen. I don't know if that's your last name. It's quite interesting, romantic.
No, that is my artistic name.
Your artistic name. Yeah, I think if we want to create trustful or anything in our organizations, we need to start with values, because those are like the foundations that you can refer to, and those are the critical points that help you, or the principles that will help you to accept or not accept some behaviors in an organization. So probably you care about people, they are not trustful, but you need to let them know that there's some certain way of behaving within an organization. Otherwise, it's like everything is allowed. So once you have values, you have role models, you have limits, and the people in the organization, they know how to behave. If there's someone that is not aligned with those values, then probably that person is not coherent and consistent with what the organization is promoting. And most probably that person must leave. So I think values is a strong foundation that you can start with to build trust in your organization and with your team members.
Absolutely. And I think, Claudia, that's a really, really great point to reiterate, which both you and Kelly have brought to the forefront so strongly and so emphatically. And I believe that this will lead to another wisdom conversation about, once we have the values in place, how do we become the, just because it's coming, the enforcers of those values. And I don't mean, because we're not going to be forceful about it, but how do we become the enforcers of those values? So that would be something that we could definitely take to explore at a deeper level. And Kadzo, I believe you wanted to share something, and Nicolette after that.
So thank you so much, Claudia and Kelly. It's just a wonderful way to wake up for me on a Monday morning to start with this meeting and be inspired with everybody's thoughts. One of the things I was thinking that's so critical about what Claudia is sharing is this importance of service, because, you know, we see organizations functioning better for it. And I just wanted to say that it's a reminder that actually at an individual level, all humans are designed to be of service, right? That is our purpose and design coming together. And therefore it would make sense that if we're all designed to be of service on the planet, that then we work better as teams, as families, as organizations, when we're all expressing this fundamental design. And then I also wanted to, you know, what Kelly's saying about the importance of truthfulness is something, because I work as a therapist and a coach, I watch people a lot and I learn, and I see that the people who are ruthlessly truthful, right, at the same time, in terms of, you know, always speaking the truth, with kindness sometimes, because of course tact is another piece of it. You can't just speak the truth if it's going to hurt somebody or take away someone's freedom. But those people's lives seem to go better. And it's many of the questions that we have now, you know, having grown up in Kenya and then now living in the States, and we have a lot of, you know, social strife about who we are. And I think it was Veselina's comment about someone saying, well, there's no expression for my culture as a Kalenjin in this organization, is that part of this truth is having a truthful sense of who we are and having that defined for us in a truthful way. because, you know, in Kenya growing up, you get defined as a tribe, and then everything you're told about other tribes is kind of fed to you. You learn this. Kids are not born understanding these realities. And so we've been given a lie about how we define ourselves, at the very foundation of who we are, that we then need to readjust and come back to, okay, the truth of it is that we're all human souls and we're here on a journey together. That's our primary identity. And then the things that make us different from one another are secondary identities that are not so fundamental. So then we create a space for actually meeting each other that isn't in the level of, okay, my tribe, your tribe, but we're first humans, and then we bring diversity and we can celebrate that diversity together. And the conversation, I think, in the United States that everybody's aware of about race, you know, the idea that Black is a negative thing came out of a lie that had to be told historically because people were using labor in really cruel ways, and they recognized that we're doing this to other human beings, and the only way to justify that cognitive dissonance was to actually say to themselves, these people are less than human, so we can continue to do that. So that's like a very fundamental historic lie about who people are, and then we are kind of living that truth. But if we go back to we're all human souls moving together and advancing the planet, then I feel like we'll, you know, we have much more room for progress. But thanks for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Kadzo. There are always wise words which come from you. And Kadzo was actually one of our speakers at a wisdom conversation as well. And I'm seeing so much potential here to carry this conversation to the next level. And meanwhile, Romantico Wakanyi replied to you, and so did Hasti, and so did Sohin on the chat. Sergio, would you like to express the distinction that you were making on the chat?
Sure. The distinction I'm making is about trust. And trust is a feeling. I may trust you, but as you're speaking, unconsciously, I may have feelings of distrust, how what you're saying is going to affect me. So as a person, I may trust you. I may believe you are truthful. I may believe everything. However, if you tell me we have to work on the weekend, the first thing that comes up unconsciously has to do with how is this going to impact or whatever, or else my unconscious brain starts to operate. So that's one of the distinctions that we want to take note of. Now, the more we can elevate the level of trust, not only that you trust me, but also by me trusting you. So trust is also another distinction or mention I wanted to say is also that trust is also, in order to gain trust, people need to believe and feel that we trust them. And that reflects into the policies that we put. Do we have very restrictive policies when you're taking a trip? I'm going to tell you exactly how much you're going to spend in a hotel. I'm going to tell you exactly how much you're going to spend on food. Or is our policy going to be like some other companies that started saying, well, take care of the money and we trust you. So those are kind of two things I wanted to share. Is one of them is that trust is a feeling. So now trust is not necessarily distrust. You may trust somebody and still distrust. So you need to elevate both. And the other thing is, and one way to create trust is by what we tell other people or how the trust that we express in other people. And so those are two of the things that I want to share with you. And the other thing is in inclusiveness, some of you mentioned about inclusiveness and people feel inclusive. And you may have a very high level organization now. So you may have an organization that there's a lot of trust, a lot of communication, a lot of saying things outright, etc., including people, but people that are just joining do not feel included. One of you mentioned it. So there's a big gap between where they are at this moment and where your organization is or where the rest of the people. My feeling is we need to help them develop that level and grow into that higher level. But you can't do it as a big jump. One of the ways we can do it is by something called gradient. I start putting you into slightly uncomfortable situations because I'm taking you out of your comfort zone little by little until you're ready and able to take the full blown of the greatness that we all are, the greatness that we all have. So I just wanted to share that there.
Beautiful. That was a very, very worthwhile share. Thank you so much. And I would also encourage you to read what Natalia is writing on the chat. Natalia, you are apologizing for your bad English, which is not something that we do here. There's absolutely no need for that. Thank you so much for your expression. Everything that you are writing is wise, and it is really, so what she's saying is that the interesting thing about what are the values and needs to change is that although it is personal, they are linked to the country and culture. There will be some values that are already taken for granted, others for which we must work, and others that they exist perhaps more strongly in some countries than others, but need to be reinforced due to a cultural issue. Therefore, it's important to understand the cultural environment with whom we are communicating. And that's a really, really wonderful way to reinforce, Natalia, what Kelly and Claudia and Kadzo and Sergio have been sharing. And Fernando, I believe you have something to say, and then after you, we can begin to close the session. Would you like to? Yes.
Thank you very much, and thanks to Kelly, Claudia, everybody, to give me the opportunity to share my thoughts here. In my point of view, in another perspective, and building on Sergio's comments and all the rest of the comments, I think that we have to take into account the behaviors. And I told you in previously comment that trust is the base for the high performance. In a companies, when you are looking for the high performance, you have to look, you cannot overlook the key behaviors that they are linked with the culture, with the values. And the first one, I agree with everybody, is the trust. And the trust is happening when some team member, some of us, we don't accept our mistakes, our weakness. And I think that is the way that you can interact, and you have to be able to share exactly where are you positioned, where is your position. And if you don't have that, that capacity to exchange your ideas, your comments, your weakness, your strengths, maybe I think that you will not be able to build the trust. Is in that part, because the next step about of the trust and how to build the trust is about to comment, to discuss, is the commitment, is to be accountable for some key points. And I think that there are some behaviors that we cannot overlook to build the trust. And I think that the values, the competences, the behaviors, they are exactly the same in the companies, in social organizations, or in the family, in your personal life, something like that. And I agree with Romantico that we have to know how can we build the trust. And I think that we have some key initiatives to build the trust is sharing professional successes, sharing professional failures, is to be open to receive the feedback. And most important, maybe I don't like the feedback, maybe it's the feed forward. We cannot see in the behind. We have to know how can we improve our Cs. We to understand each other's, the working styles, the behaviors. We have to be able to admit our mistakes, or how can we go to each other to be openness, and that's all. I am sorry, but these are a general comments that I had for everybody, and thank you very much to have the opportunity. Thanks, Claudia.
Thank you so much, Fernando. Thank you for honoring Claudia's invitation to be here. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking, in spite of where we are in the world, the fundamentals we are discussing here are the same. They apply everywhere. And what you've provoked me into thinking is, sometimes we are moving so fast in the direction towards profit and elevating our bottom line, that there are some processes and procedures, and especially the whole process of trust building, which take time. And that time is perhaps something that we are not willing to give, or that we are willing to forsake in favor of money, or in favor of what we're calling profit. So switching and coming back to the profit of service as a process which will generate impact in the longer run if we are willing to dedicate the necessary resources to making that happen. So as you speak and as I'm hearing what is being shared, this is what comes to mind for me. And Marwa is saying, how do you inspire trust in a nutshell? Embody it, walk the talk. Do you trust yourself? Are you impeccable with your word? Change begins within and radiates to those around you. And a big part of the conversation we're having here today is that even if there are some of us who understand that and aim to live it, and I believe that could be most of the people in this conversation, how does it become our responsibility to instill and to grow that in others? And especially if we are looking at cultural distinctions or tribal distinctions, how do we bring that conversation to a oneness which we can all participate in and be involved in? And that may be the question that we are leaving with here today. And so as we talk about feeding forward or sharing, we are left with a responsibility to revisit ourselves. And I come back to the question I asked at the beginning. If you had 30 seconds with your full organization's attention, what would you say? And it becomes about amplifying the voices of everybody in the organization to have something valid to say within those 30 seconds that would be listened to, respected, and trusted to move us ahead. So Vijay, you're asking if you can speak. Yes, you can. And then after you, I really do believe we must bring this session to a close. It's just so, it's so intriguing and so incredibly amazing to be in everybody's presence today and hearing the conversations come alive. Vijay, yes, and then after you, we will hand over to one of our directors to close.
Hi, Zaina. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to say a few last words before we wrap up everything. But here's my take, and I've been listening to everything, and I've got a responsibility answering the question of the Gallup research as well. But just to talk about trust, I just want to take 1 minute, and here's a real practical example which happened. Soin, who's on this particular webinar, and we just communicated over LinkedIn. We had a video call, and within 30 minutes, we were like business partners. Do you know what the key essence was? There were 3 elements I want to share with you. The first is the values. The question that I asked Soin was, what are your values? And the values matched. That was the first thing, which was ethics and professionalism and excellence. So we were on the same platform. But the second, which was so important, is the energy level, because there was that communication, there was that connection, there was that, there was that impact which happened when we were talking, because it was completely switched on. And the third was obviously the vibration, because, we had the same sort of language we were talking to. In other words, the language, the adaptability was in such sync that there was that particular trust level. Now, here's what's very interesting, and I just want to extend one more step to what everybody has spoken here, which is absolutely fantastic. We have gone to we've gone to hundreds. In fact, the next webinar we are going to do is the research we have done with hundreds of CEOs and executives, which we have spoken in the last 3 weeks. But I want to condense this one thing. Whenever we enter into any organization, they want to do business with us. Why? It's because of our authenticity. It's because of our fearlessness, because we don't fear. So we go in authentic, fearlessness, and we confront reality. So that in itself makes that impact. But here, Zaina, this is the key point, take home point. The language which we speak adapts to that particular person. If you build rapport with the right language, you can definitely make a profound impact. I mean, this is just something that I wanted to quickly share with you. I just want to shift gears on something which I promised everybody. about the Gallup research and what we have picked up from executives and what some of the key elements are. We know there is isolation. We know that they feel intimidated in meetings, and there are very many pain points they face. But here are three things that every leader must do, and this is what we believe, and this is what we have even noticed. The first is appreciation. Appreciate your employees and at every point. Now, the key here again is consistency. You can't just appreciate once and then forget about it, but at every milestone, recognize and appreciate. The second is engage. And I know everybody has spoken about engagement, even in the chat box, everybody spoke about engagement. So deep engagement is very important. And the third is listen with empathy. Again, all these prominent speakers and, what we have listened to from everybody, they've spoken about listening, but the art of listening, empathy, deep listening, it's not about shallow listening or attentive listening, but it is listening with empathy. It's going deeper. It's the third level of listening that can really switch on. So those were the key elements. In the next, Zen, I hope we have another one, but I wanted to share a story on life after life, on the 50 experiences which people had. I know we are short of time right now, but the question about why am I here and what am I doing, all this will build up from that particular end point, which is completely different. So perhaps in the next conversation, I might have that opportunity to share with the participants and everybody on the take of what really means of having the right footprints in place. So over to you, Zaina. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to have my 2 pence of thoughts put in.
Thank you, Vijay, for adding value to this conversation. That is what this is about. And I know everybody is leaving with something. Well, we're leaving greater than how we walked into this conversation because of everybody's contribution today. And so to close, I would, for her final words, I would like to hand over to Claudia, who has been a jewel to not only to the conversation today, but to South Women as a whole. Claudia, please.
Thank you, Zaina. And first of all, I want to acknowledge you, Zaina, and all the South Women participants and members. Beautiful community, wonderful to share with you. Like, my purpose is living when I'm sharing with all of you what I have known and my experience with service culture. I have a final invitation to all of you, and it's, if you don't have a purpose, write what your purpose is. And if it is connected to what you are doing in life, and if you are living that purpose every single day, it provides tons of energy and happiness when you feel that you are living your purpose. So that's my invitation to end these final comments that I have for you.
Thank you so much, Claudia. And I would like to acknowledge the presence of Patricia, who's here today. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm pretty sure today wasn't an issue in terms of time difference, right? And to Mary Mbug, that's what I see on the screen. Thank you so much for being here today. And to Marwa, I'll hand it over to you to close fully. And please know that I am so grateful to each of you for the time, the energy you have dedicated today, and more so for the trust that you have placed in South Women to share 2 hours of your Monday in this space together. We're truly grateful for that. And we look forward to seeing you at the next Wisdom Conversations. And my promise is that we will be in touch with each of you individually between now and the next Wisdom Conversation. Mary Mbugwa, thank you. Thank you. We will definitely be in touch. Marwa, would you like to close?
Thank you, Zina. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Claudia, for inviting us to write and think about our purpose. And I would invite you all to envision your 85th birthday and to imagine everybody there. Who would be there? And what would they say about you? How will they honor you with your 85th birthday? And as you envision that, you really think about the legacy you want to leave in this world, as Kelly shared with us in her presentation. And again, I wish you a very, very blessed week ahead. And I thank you very much on behalf of everybody at South Women for the joy and enjoyment and empowerment and enlightenment that you have brought into this sacred space today. We really believe that we are building a better world, all of us together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marwa. And maybe because I know Ibiene shared at the beginning, if you would like to close, final. And that way we will have honored all the...
Thank you everyone for trusting us, for believing in us, and for coming to share in the service. Good customer service, because you were good clients, and I want to believe that we gave you good service. We look forward to the next conversation with all your smiling, beautiful faces, all the energy, all the love, and all the light. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a blessed evening, have a blessed morning, and have a wonderful good night.